Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Forest at Duke Trivia. I'm Kelsey Fry. I am the activities coordinator here, and I will be your host for this session. We have a special theme trivia this week, and it is Halloween, all things Halloween. So we have 20 questions for you. They're all multiple choice. Feel free to grab some paper and a pencil, and we'll get started. Just a reminder, we're not collecting answer sheets. It's just for fun and to test your knowledge. So here we go. Question 1. In the movie, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Who does Linus mistake for the Great Pumpkin? Is it A, Charlie Brown, B, Sally, C, Snoopy, or D, Peppermint Patty? Question 2. What phobia do you suffer from if you have an extreme fear of Halloween? Is it A, arachnophobia, B, samhainophobia, C, nyctophobia, or D, wiccaphobia? Question 3. Who was the first lady to decorate the White House for Halloween? Was it A, Jacqueline Kennedy, B, Mamie Eisenhower, C, Elizabeth Truman, or D, Elizabeth Ford? Question number 4. What famous magician died on Halloween? Is it A, Harry Houdini, B, Harry Keller, C, Carl Ballantine, or D, Di Vernon? Question 5. Which of the following was not used before pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns? Was it A, turnips, B, potatoes, C, beets, or D, squash? Question 6. Where did the real Ichabod Crane live? Was it A, Key West, B, London, England, C, New Jersey, or D, Martha's Vineyard? Question 7. What was the first horror movie to be nominated for an Academy Award? Was it A, The Exorcist, B, It, C, Psycho, or D, Silence of the Lambs? Question number 8. In what century did the tradition of trick-or-treating begin? Was it A, the 16th century, B, the 18th, C, the 19th, or D, the 20th? Question 9. What ancient Roman goddess is said to be honored on Halloween? Is it A, Venus, B, Aurora, C, Juno, or D, Pomona? Question 10. How many pounds of candy corn are produced each year? Is it A, 15 million, B, 25 million, C, 35 million, or D, 45 million? Question 11. What U.S. state produces the most pumpkins? Is it A, Indiana, B, Illinois, C, Iowa, or D, Oklahoma? Question 12. What Halloween song reached #1 in the Hot 100 in 1962? Was it A, Somebody's Watching Me, B, Thriller, C, Monster Mash, or D, Ghostbusters? Question 13. In what country did carving jack-o'-lanterns originate? Was it A, England, B, the United States, C, Norway, or D, Ireland? Question 14. What product is banned in Hollywood on Halloween? Is it A, candy, B, masks, C, cameras, or D, silly string? Question 15. In 2019, what was the most popular dog costume? Was it A, pumpkin, B, shark, C, lion, or D, sushi? Question 16. Which of the following is not in the top 10 most popular Halloween candies? Which one is not? A, Starburst, B, Snickers, C, Skittles, or D, Milk Duds? Question 17. What U.S. city throws the biggest Halloween parade? Is it A, Washington, D.C., B, Denver, Colorado, C, New York City, or D, Los Angeles? Question 18. What strong-smelling food is often thought to keep vampires away? Is it A, Limburg cheese, B, garlic, C, tuna fish, or D, pepperoni? Question 19. How did Dorothy get rid of the Wicked Witch of the West? This is in The Wizard of Oz. Is it A, she poured water over her head and the witch melted? Is it B, she locked her in a dungeon? Is it C, she convinced her to visit Kansas? Or is it D, Toto chased her out of town? And our last question, question 20, which of the following is not a term for a scarecrow? Which is not. Is it A, a mermit, B, a doodle sack, C, a hayman, or D, a gallybagger? Great, so now it's time to reveal the answers. Question 1, and it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Who does Linus mistake for the Great Pumpkin? And that was C, Snoopy. Linus faints after seeing a shadowy figure rise in the pumpkin patch. He thought it was the Great Pumpkin, but instead it was only Snoopy. The It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown was a primetime television special, and it initially broadcasted on October 27, 1966. I know it's still a favorite. Question 2. What phobia do you suffer from if you have an extreme fear of Halloween? And the answer was B, samhinophobia. A, arachnophobia, is actually the fear of spiders. C, which was nyctophobia, is a fear of the dark. And D, which is wiccaphobia, is fear of witches. So the answer was B. Question 3. Who was the first lady to decorate the White House for Halloween? And that was B, Mammy Eisenhower. She decorated the White House for Halloween for the first time in 1958. She also hosted a lunch for the wives of staff members in the state dining room. And there's a picture here of some current White House Halloween decorations, some more recent ones. Question 4. What famous magician died on Halloween? And that was A, Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini lived from 1874 to 1926. He was best known for his dangerous escape arts and elaborate illusions. For his last buried alive stunt, Houdini escaped from a straitjacket while locked in a casket that was buried in a big container of sand. Right, question 5. Which of the following was not used before pumpkins were to make jack-o'-lanterns? And the answer was D, squash. Squash was never used to make pumpkins. Turnips apparently were used by the Irish as well as potatoes, and beets were used sometimes by the English. Never squash. Question 6. Where was the real Ichabod Crane born? And the answer was C, New Jersey. The real Ichabod Crane, or Ichabod Bennett Crane, was born in Elizabethtown, New Jersey in 1787, fewer than 50 miles from the location of the fictitious Sleepy Hollow. And unlike the Ichabod Crane that we know, this Ichabod Crane was a tough and seasoned military officer. Question 7. What was the first horror movie to be nominated for an Academy Award? And that was A, The Exorcist. At the 46th Academy Awards, The Exorcist was recognized with 10 nominations, ranging from technical awards like production design and sound mixing to more serious awards like adapted screenplay, director, actress, and picture. It won 2 awards that year. It won Best Adapted Screenplay and it won Best Sound Mixing. Question 8. In what century did the tradition of trick-or-treating begin? And that was A, the 16th century. The American tradition of trick-or-treating dates back to the 1920s, but in Europe, as early as the 16th century, people were known to go from door to door on Halloween, asking for food, reciting verses, and wearing costumes. And question 9. What ancient Roman goddess is said to be honored on Halloween? And that was the answer choice D, Pomona. Pomona is the goddess of fruit and trees. And many believe that the tradition of bobbing for apples on Halloween stemmed from Roman traditions that honored Pomona. Question 10. How many pounds of candy corn are produced each year? And the answer is C, 35 million pounds. That amounts to about 9 billion pieces of candy corn. And a fun fact, did you know that when it was first produced, candy corn was originally called chicken feed? Question 11, what U.S. state produces the most pumpkins? And that was answer choice B, Illinois. Illinois produces the most pumpkins. It has more than 15,000 acres devoted to gourd growing, according to the United States Department of Agriculture. Typical Illinois farms grow more than 500 million pounds of pumpkins annually, and that happens to be 5 times more than any other U.S. state. Question 12. What Halloween song reached #1 in the Hot 100 in 1962? And that was the song Monster Mash. Answer choice C. Bobby Boris Pickett reached #1 on the Hot 100 in 1962, just before Halloween, and it later recharted in 1973. At that time, it was in August. Question 13. In what country did carving jack-o'-lanterns originate? And the answer was D, in Ireland. Jack-o'-lanterns are a yearly Halloween tradition that came to the United States from Irish immigrants. The lanterns were said to represent either spirits or supernatural beings, and they were used to ward off evil spirits. For example, sometimes people used them and they put them on their windowsills to keep harmful spirits out of their home. Question 14. What product is banned in Hollywood on Halloween? And the answer is D, silly string. A ban on the messy toy went into effect in 2004 due to complaints from business owners. You can expect to pay about $1,000 fine if you're caught with a can of silly string in your hand. And question 15, in 2009, what was the most popular dog costume? And the answer was A, a pumpkin. You can see here a dog is displaying a pumpkin costume. Question 16, which of the following is not in the top 10 most popular Halloween candies? And the answer was D, milk duds. You can see, according to this chart, which was put out by the candy store, the top 10 candies are Skittles, Reese Cups, M&Ms, Snickers, Starburst, candy corn, hot tamales, Tootsie Pops, Sour Patch Kids, and Hershey's. Those are the top 10. Question 17, what U.S. city throws the biggest Halloween parade? And that was C, New York City. There's a picture here from the right of one of those parades. The parade is said to draw more than 2 million spectators and includes thousands of participants. It started out as a simple idea from Greenwich Village, from a Greenwich Village resident, as a walk from house to house for his children and friends. And then the local theater got involved in it, and it's turned into a very big event. Question 18, what strong smelling food is often thought to keep vampires away? And that was B, garlic. Vampires are assumed to have heightened senses due to their condition, so things with strong smells are known to naturally repel them, garlic being one of them. Question 19, how did Dorothy get rid of the Wicked Witch of the West? In the Wizard of Oz, how did Dorothy get rid of the Wicked Witch of the West? And the answer was A, she poured water over her and the witch melted. Did you know a fun fact about the Wizard of Oz? Because of their iconic stature, the ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in the film are now among the most treasured and valuable film memorabilia in movie history. In the book, Dorothy actually wore silver shoes, but the color was changed to ruby to take advantage of the new Technicolor process. And our last question of the day, which of the following is not a term for a scarecrow? And the answer was B, doodle sack. Doodle sack actually is an English word for bagpipe. Not a scarecrow, but a bagpipe. All right, and that concludes our trivia for this week. Thank you so much for participating and for playing. I hope it was a little festive for you, and we hope you all have a good rest of your week. Thanks so much.